Good morning, everyone. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Kevin Imani, and I will be your host for this morning. I am leading the guild called Sankore in Kenya, Nairobi, and I'm super excited for what's going to happen here at the conference in Lisbon. This is the very first NEAR conference after being live on the mainnet for a year. So we have a bunch of guilds here, a bunch of the NEAR core team. I have a lot of guests, and we're going to have amazing speakers coming this morning. And so without further ado, let me introduce to you Oscar. Now, Oscar is team lead of the Grain programming language, and they've been working on bringing a new programming language to the NEAR and bring even more developers. So please, round of applause for Oscar.
Sweet. Are we looking here? All right, awesome. As said, my name is Oscar Spencer. I am one of the creators of the Grain programming language, and I currently lead the core team. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're building with Grain, what we're doing on NEAR. So, what is Grain? Grain is a programming language made exclusively for WebAssembly. So, the NEAR blockchain uses WebAssembly to execute all of the smart contracts. So, WebAssembly is actually the perfect technology for this sort of stuff. The idea behind WebAssembly is it executes in a sandboxed environment. So, it's in a sandbox. Everything's super secure. Everything here? Awesome. It's super secure. It's, like I said, sandbox, secure, and able to execute in a nice little environment without having to interact with the outside world outside of what capabilities you want to give to the WebAssembly modules. So it makes it perfect for blockchain applications. So since we've been building Grain for WebAssembly, it makes a ton of sense to bring a language like this to NEAR. So, like I said before, it also has a very small footprint. So in terms of things like storage on the blockchain, it's not going to cost you a ton of NEAR to store all of your code on the blockchain. So what languages do we have right now running on NEAR? So the first one, of course, is Rust, which is a language that is fantastic if you have mission-critical applications. If you're working, of course, with deep financial smart contracts, it makes a ton of sense to write them in Rust. However, Rust has a huge learning curve. It's very intimidating for a lot of developers to get onboarded using Rust, which is not great when you're trying to bring tons and tons of people on. Then you have a language like AssemblyScript. AssemblyScript is a fantastic language. It's very close to, just native WebAssembly code. Only problem there is that it's still very low level. It doesn't feel natural for a lot of developers to come in and start actually building real things using AssemblyScript. So where does Grain come in? Grain is here to be that high-level programming language we've been waiting for to do things like writing smart contracts. So talking a little bit about what we're doing with the language, it's a strongly typed, functional-oriented programming language. So the idea behind that is, like in Rust, you have that really strong type checker that's making sure that all of your code is doing exactly what you want it to. We've got the same thing in Grain. So even though we're a much higher level language, you don't have to worry about your code being as incorrect as if you're writing it in something like a TypeScript-like language like AssemblyScript. It's flexible to suit all programming styles. So in addition to just writing functional programming code, if you're used to writing very iterative code, if you're used to writing JavaScript, things like that, you're going to feel right at home. And of course, modern day language features to keep developers productive. So one of my favorite features in modern day programming languages, pattern matching. If you take a look at this code example down here, it's super simple. When we're defining data, we can define it in terms of, hey, what does this data actually look like? And then when we're pattern matching, we say, oh, for example here, if we're ordering something, we've got a pizza, it's one topping with pepperoni. In this exact case, we can do something here. If we've got a pizza, got other toppings on it, we can do something. It's a very natural way to describe how to transform data. So, our goals. We want to be a super high-level language for WebAssembly. So, just coding in Ruby or a language like Python, that's what the experience using Grain should be like. So imagine you can write your smart contracts in a language like Ruby or Python. You don't have to write it in Rust. You don't have to write it in C. All of a sudden, you can see how many more developers can get onto the platform. We want to give them tools to move fast. We want to make sure that we've got awesome standard libraries, awesome SDKs for folks to get on board and moving quick. And after all, we want to put WebAssembly in the hands of all sorts of developers, not just those seasoned veterans who are fantastic working with super low-level code. We want to bring more people on. So not just writing even DeFi stuff and stuff like that. We want to see people building games. We want to see people really getting imaginative. We want people putting their own tokens on the chain, right? So here's a super duper simple example. I don't want to get too technical here, but this is a super duper simple smart contract. And so we've been doing some work on the Grain Near SDK, which will be launching sometime soon. But in this example here, we just have a counter. So this is some code that's going to run on the blockchain. You want to load a counter, set the value, very simple. You want to load the counter, decrement the value, very simple. And we have a view function. This function just returns the current value of the counter. Even if you're a non-technical person, you can probably look at this and tell, hey, that's easy. That's not too hard. That's something that I can do. It's not big, scary code that folks are totally worried about getting into and writing, right? So this is the whole idea behind what we're trying to do with Grain. We want it to feel really, really approachable for anyone to get in and start writing code. So what does this mean for Near? It means a whole lot. Because, like I said before, if you've only got developers who are just very deeply technical, super experienced in these languages like Rust developing, that's a really small set of people. But if you start looking at the community of folks, like everyone who writes JavaScript, for example, if you can bring all of those developers onto the platform, we're going to see this explosion of projects on Near. And I think that's incredibly exciting, like bringing so many more people into our ecosystem. It's amazing. The other thing that I think is fantastic is Near's low gas fees, right? So I know for myself, when I first got into Near, the gas fees were so low that I could mess around and do all sorts of things that I could never do on other chains. And that's what really got me interested. And so when we can make it so people can start building really, really simply, really, really easily, and then they can come in and it doesn't cost them very much, we're really onto something here. And so it's a lot of what I'm excited about. So where are we headed? So Grain's a language that runs on WebAssembly, which means that it has even more use cases besides just running on the blockchain. So running on the blockchain is awesome, but what if we can get to a future where not just your smart contracts are written in Grain? What if your entire decentralized application stack is written in Grain? So WebAssembly can also run in the browser. So we're going to be doing a ton of work in the future to bring more capabilities from Grain in the browser. So you'll be able to write the front ends of your dApps as well. So top down, you can have all your front end code in Grain, all of your smart contract code in Grain. One cohesive, easy ecosystem for folks to get involved. And when I think about this dream, I get really, really excited because especially as a language author, there's nothing more exciting than making it so easy for folks to get involved in projects like Near. So of course, a special thank you to the Near Foundation, who makes it possible for us to continue working on the language for Near. Without their support, we wouldn't be here. So it was very special thank you to Near and for believing in us and in everything that we're doing. So how can you get involved right now? Like I said, we're still currently working on our SDK and officially bringing Grain to Near. We do have a Discord server. Definitely hop in there, chat with us. Let us know what sorts of things you want to start writing in Grain. If you're just so excited to start working on smart contracts, we've got a preview SDK that we can hook you up with. We'd love to work together, see how you're starting to use this stuff. We also have community meetings. So definitely hop in there. You can figure out when those are on our Discord and whatnot. If you think I'm fun, you can come in and chat with me. My team's pretty nice as well. We're more than happy to help you get going. And there's a link to our Discord as well. Of course, it's great to get involved. We have a lot of work to do. If you're not like super into building compilers, that's okay. We have plenty of other work. The standard library, absolutely a huge place to get involved. There's tons and tons of code you can write there. The best thing is, it's all grain code. It's nice, easy to write. It's not scary like anything else. Tooling, documentation, keeping the website up to date, these things are all super important. A great way for folks to start getting involved. Of course, open issues, suggest features. If you're like, oh, actually, when I write my contracts, if I had this one feature here, it would just make my life so much easier. Tell us, we want to know. A lot of the work that we're doing is driven directly by what folks are doing and what they're asking for. And of course, sponsor us. We're a small team. We still have day jobs. Grain's not the only thing that we work on. So the community supporting us and taking care of us is what keeps us moving along. So feel free to drop us some near at grain-lang.near. And that's about it. Thank you. Our website is grain-lang.org. Our Discord, discord.gg/grain-lang. On Twitter is grain_lang. You can find me on Twitter as Oscar_spin. And that's about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Oscar.